Chief's on his way down, so we're going to be starting in a couple minutes. Just everybody stand by. After the chief has finished his remarks, if you would all just stay for a couple minutes, I have a couple things I want to add.
Get off your chest.
Thank you.
The voice in the background. Your voice is loud and clear.
Thank you, Brad.
You want to say it off, Mike?
I'm Brian Fisher, manager of the Media Relations Division for the Prince George's County Police Department. And I would like to bring up now our chief of police and our deputy chiefs, Malik, Aziz.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. It is my privilege to stand before you as Chief of Police of this great department to share our successes as well as our insights for making Prince George's County a safe and vibrant place to live, to work, to be entertained, and a place for our children to play. I would like to thank our former county executive, now U.S. Senator Angela Also Brooks, our current acting county executive, Ms. Tara Jackson, and our acting Chief Administrative Officer, Barry Stanton, for their tireless support of our police department. I would like to extend my gratitude to the dedicated men and women of the Prince George's County Police Department who work tirelessly every day to be the first to serve our residents and visitors. I extend thanks to our residents, especially the engaged community members, the stakeholders, who propel our efforts forward every single day, making our county safer and better. The command leadership of our great department, some you see with me today, and hundreds of first line and second line supervisors who demonstrate leadership daily. When I analyze crime statistics, these are not just numbers because each number represents a person. And that person is a victim or a survivor of a crime. They're more than a number. The person is a member of our residential family, our business family, and sometimes both. When we lessen the number of crimes, then we lessen the number of victims. I make no apologies. And I express once again that I am a victim-centric police chief, and we are a victim-centric police department. That is why we implemented and prioritized various specialty units who have proved to be strategic in lowering crime. The executive leadership team, you see with me here today, they implemented a focused effort in 2024. Our gun crimes unit, our WAVE unit and carjacking and addiction unit, the special crimes unit, and our homicide unit are among the best, if not the very best, of highly trained units in the nation. It should always be noted that the Bureau of Patrol and the patrol officers represent the backbone of policing, and they are the backbone of our police department. Our investigators move these cases forward to pass the baton of justice to our partners in the state attorney's office. The members of the Bureaus of Administration and Homeland Security and Forensics make sure that we are focused to deliver results. but there are a few groups that go unnoticed. First, I want to say thanks to the professional staff who are not police. Without them, we could not do the job that we do. Thank you so much. They represent the core life force of our department. I extend this special thanks to the public safety communications personnel. There are other units that often go unmentioned, like the Community First Division. Through their many outreach initiatives and events, they have built bridges of fellowship and partnership and trust between the police department and diverse residents of Prince George's County. Also, the community engagement units of the Bureau of Patrol, cops, and the community action teams work together to cultivate a community where everyone can feel safe, supported, and connected. I received a positive call a few days ago where one of our cops officers brought his shovel to work and removed snow from one of the driveways of our seniors, making sure that they could get out safely. That's the first to serve. That's Prince George's County proud. Community policing is at the heart, is at the core of Prince George's County policing. It is not uncommon. It is very common. Now let's delve into the details of the 2024 crime stats under our jurisdiction and I extend the gratitude to the municipal chiefs of Prince George's County, the sheriff's office, our federal partners, all for their continued support and partnership. Crime fighting is not possible without partnerships. So we'll move forward into the crime stats for 2024. Total crime is down 9%. We focused on firearms using data, statistical analysis, pinpointing specific areas that require our focused attention. Community policing played a considerable role in our neighborhood meetings, youth program, and crime prevention strategies. Violent crimes is down 2%. Violent crimes in our county is down 2%. Homicides is down 5% in our county. It should be noted that we had 21 domestic related homicides in our county. Well, I often say that one homicide is one too many, and we can get caught up in a lot of stats for decreases and things like that. But we had people who were murdered in our county, homicides in our county, and there are families right now who are grieving, who are trying to put their lives back together, put these things back together because they've been fractured through homicidal violence. And so one is always too many. One is one too many. Robberies are down 13% in our county. Commercial robberies down negative 11%. Residential down negative 31%. And citizen robberies were flat at 0. It should be noted that the positive that we had come out of this and robberies was that it was a battle going from 22 to 23, and the 23 to 24 just making some significant inroads into driving down those numbers, while there's still some greater work to do across the jurisdictions, across the divisions with citizen robberies. And we're focused on that. And I think we had some this year with some of our schools, with young people wearing some designer types clothing who were focused on some of those young people who were, nobody should be a victim, but they were making victims out of those who had certain jackets or certain type of shoes or things like that. And those numbers were very hard to deal with. We can be fortunate enough to fall flat, but we'll be striving to produce a negative in the coming year. One point of note that it was not mentioned before that, and that is carjackings, because I wanted to single out where we were in carjackings. It's been such a big thing since I arrived in 2021, and it has escalated since I've been here. And we had a real strategic focus on carjackings, and those carjackings went down 33%. And in a note, I have to reiterate that carjackings, is a violent crime. I think we add a sense of glamour to it and we give it these names, but it is just that. A carjacking, a person takes a weapon and puts it to your face, your body, and takes your property, and you have trauma for a long time after. And we don't think about the victim in that process, who've been the victims and victimized by the crime of carjacking. So to put it into totality about where we're going in carjackings and how we've seen things so far, having a 33% reduction and even 167 offenses, less than what we had the year before. That was 167 less victims in our county who were the target of a carjacking. The arrest, though, for carjackings, the decrease of adults arrested from last year went down 36%. We arrested 74 adults for carjackings in 2024. Juveniles stayed the same. We arrested 147 juveniles, the same amount that we arrested in 23. And that number had been an escalation for years. While we didn't see an escalation and it's staying flat, that's a small positive that we are at least starting to turn the corner to make some inroads, not just less carjackings, but making the less arrest or attempting to less arrest for those who are not offending. Total arrests ended up at 218, but we had 368 investigations that we had going on related around the offensive carjackings. When we look at fire, when I mentioned that is a violent crime, and firearms are often used in these carjackings, not strong arm as we call it, but a weapon being used, guns in our county, because there's a focus on weapons. And so every year, if you look at what has happened with firearm-related arrest, and those arrests that we've had this year, total arrest was 1,033 for firearm-related arrest in the county. And that was 38 less than what we had before, 4% decrease than the year before, which we had 1,071. The year before we had, in 2022, there was 1,237 firearm-related arrests, and 2021 was 941, and 2020 was 962, 2019 was 894. And so we're looking at the arrest, the data on arrest and how they have decreased for a variety of reasons. Juvenile arrests, though, for weapons, for firearm-related weapons against 23, we arrested 3 more juveniles, 3 more young people were arrested than the year before at 102 versus 99. And the ghost guns, which were, the big one was polymer 80 ghost guns, unserialized weapons, we had 5 less than we had the year before. So we had 17 in 2024 for those ghost guns. When we look at the total amount of firearms and versus ghost guns or unserialized weapons, 1,548 guns we recovered, 192 guns were polymer 80 ghost guns, unserialized weapons. And that revolves around, a lot of that revolves around carjackings. One thing we have particularly seen an increase, and it is a concern not only with us, but our federal partners in the system, has been, rapid fire switches that people are connecting to some weapons. And we took 108 of those off the street, 108 of those switches that people attach to a weapon to make it fire faster. That's what it is. So moving on, assaults were up 8%. The assaults in general were up, and other weapons were down in -8%, but the regular assaults were up by 8%. I'm going to take this time to move on to non-fatal shootings, because that is a big one for non-fatal shootings. but non-fatal shootings went down 8% in the county. And the major reason why non-fatal shootings went down in the county was we created the gun crimes unit. Many of you have heard me speak on the gun crimes unit, that we looked at it and we believed that we needed to put together a unit. Before then, we had 8 different divisions handling gun crimes individually. And what would happen is that would be fragmented. And when it was fragmented, then that meant that we didn't have anything centralized to connect suspects, to connect actions, incidents, things like that. But when we put that together, centralized it under the Bureau of Investigations, what we found is what we believe to be some phenomenal results. Before then, in any given division, clearance rates could be from the mid-teens to the lower 40s, anywhere in between. The mid-teens, which is low, putting it in perspective, if it was teens, it would be 1.5, times out of 10 that you would solve a case. Those have turned into 54% clearance rates countywide, which means just over, 5 in 10 of non-fatal shootings or cases involving non-fatal shootings have been resolved by a phenomenal team. And they really should be commended for a tremendous amount of work, for the amount of cases that they took in for over our county for non-fatal shootings. And some of the detectives, I won't single them out by name here, but some of the detectives down there running 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 clearance rates for closure rates for non-fatal shootings. So the idea to move forward with the gun crimes unit put us into another zone that helps our county become safer and better. So I just, take that time to commend the executive team for all of their hard work and diligent efforts in putting together the gun crimes unit. But a special note of thanks to our federal partners, especially the ATF, for their work with us as partners, and the successful passing that baton to the state attorney's office and the U.S. attorney's office in some cases for involving weapons, for all of the work that they've done to add value and to the safety and security of the county. Moving forward, assaults, no weapons, which is a big category. Assaults, no weapon is a positive 18%. And there's some reasons why, and that we should discuss or briefly mention about these assaults, no weapons. These includes fights, including school fights. So our young people, our young children, they're in school, they're fighting, or it's connected to the school. They may not be in the school, they may be on the property or just outside the property, but still under the care and custody and control or the guidance of the school. Pushes, grabs, spitting, threats, all those other things add into assaults with no weapons. And that category went up. Now, when we look back into over the years in crime, assaults, what we call simple assaults, were not included many years ago. This under the new system that we have, the National Incident-Based Reporting System versus the Uniform Crime Reports, these are now captured. So we added 1,078 of those this year alone for those type of fights, many of which are beyond the police control. Domestic violence assaults, no weapons, was up 5%. And when we look at domestic violence and the assaults that are up, these are, fights between current and former partners that didn't involve a weapon. It's the same thing. Fights, pushes, threats, some to that nature that usually happens in a car or at home or in some, place that is not, general public per se, to have those type of assaults go up. When you look at the total overall crime, so we said, well, violent crime being down 2%. When you look at those assaults and you extract the assaults, the fights, the pushes, the things without weapons, with no weapons included, and you extract those numbers, then our violent crime is reduced to a negative 10%. That's an 8% difference in what we are looking at with fights, domestic fights and non-domestic fights. Property crime, down 11%. Property crime makes up the greater bulk of offenses committed in the county. And when we look at the number of offenses that are property crime in the county for property, 78.9% of our crime has been related to property crime. Of that crime, of the 78.9%, 71.41% is car related, either stolen, your car is getting stolen, either someone's taking some from inside of your car or someone's taking some from off your car. It's car related. And 21% of that would be violent crime. And the vast majority of that is those assaults that I just mentioned, to put those things into perspective. Burglary is down 3%. Commercial burglaries was a positive 3%. Point of note, that was 14 offenses up from last year. That was 14 on the number that went up, but it ended up in being a positive 3%. Residential burglaries down 8%. Other burglaries up 4%. Those include, that's anything like some type of shed or some independent structure that someone went into and burglarized that. And that went slightly up. When I say 4%, the burglaries for that category, it really was 1. It went up 1, the number 1. So 4%, but the number is actually 1. We were 1 away from being flat, 2 away from being in a negative. Larceny, which is theft. Thefts from auto, which I just mentioned, down 9%. It's still down 9%, even though it makes up the bulk of our crimes. But the other part is what has the greater alarm, because that is shoplifting, organized retail, theft, anything dealing with that. And so that went up 14%. Even though our total was down with 1%, it still went up for that number by 14% because of the other thefts, shoplifting, retail theft. That is what drove the numbers. We've been working with our retailers and having meetings and with some of our legislators talking about how can we bolster this category, which seems to be a major nuisance that people are concerned about. It drives up prices, drives up the numbers and the stats for crime. And so we have a great partnership, working with our retailers, the legislators, and our state attorney's office to make sure those who need to be kept in a place where they can't commit more crimes, that we're following through with those things on the habitual or most the impact individuals who are having a greater impact, and some who are still in hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of merchandise across our county and some other jurisdictions in other states. Stolen vehicles, we're down 24%. The real note of stolen vehicles this year on being down, that still makes up the bulk of our property crime. It is really the vehicles. We saw great decreases on Kia and Hyundais this year. And with the work especially Hyundai, who work with us with giving us clubs, who work with us in partnership to install the software to prevent those kinds of thefts. It emanated from a TikTok challenge from the upper Midwest, and it gravitated across the nation and all across social media. And a lot of our young people were doing this out of fun. Others were doing it to commit these steps, to commit other crimes, from robberies and including carjacking. With this, it was so easy to do, and some of these things have lent a greater hand to this could be driven down even further if we have 300 plus stolen vehicles that you left your key in, you left your car running, either like a cold day like today, you want to heat your car up and somebody jumps in it and takes it. On a hot day, you want to cool it off, someone jumps in your car and take it. And so those are the type of offenses that we're having with stolen vehicles that could help us drive down the number of stolen vehicles in our county if we would just focus on some crime preventive efforts from stolen vehicles. With that said, I'll end the presentation there with some of the crime stats that I've heard. I think we've given a comprehensive view of what has happened with crime in our county. Of course, I would say, along with my executive team, that there's more that we can do. There's more that we can do. But I have to reiterate that working with engaged stakeholders, community, from people being involved, like those of the Citizens Police Academy, the coffee clubs, the chiefs advisory committees, all the stakeholders who take a foot forward from crime solvers and their partnerships, the number of quality tips that we have that have broken the barriers of trust. So we've engaged in a more trustful foundation, that those things have helped us this year to have a crime decrease in our county. But we have to maintain those. We have to maintain, this is a gentle, fragile ecosystem in the criminal justice system that we all connect. And if any one of those cogs are ruptured or not performing well, then in a partnership and a team environment, then none of us actually do well. It turns into a negative. So we have to massage it and we have to treat it carefully. And we all have to be accountable at every aspect of our system to drive these numbers down further. And that's a long road. The words are easy, as I always say, the actions are more difficult to do. So the words are easy. We speak them easily. We articulate them very easy. And then the actions come with a lot of decision making, a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, a lot of tough decisions you have to make. And so we're striving for that. But at the core of that is a police officer. And so in order to have a safe county, then we have to have police, people who want to do this job. Those numbers have went up this year. That our recruiting unit is doing a great job, and the numbers are rising. To do all of what I just said with 350 officers down, to me is a testament to the leadership and to the officers and to the community who combine, who partner to make this a reality. But we're looking for some more good men and women to come join the force to help us make Prince George's County what we all believe it to be. With that, I'll open it up for a few questions.
Carjacking down 30. Carjacking is one that really concerns a lot of people because it can happen anywhere, anytime. So carjacking down 33%, but that's still significantly above where it was in 2019. We were like only 94 carjacking. Mm-hmm. What will it take to really get that number down to pre-pandemic level? Why is that carjacking number still so high?
Yeah, we look at this even in Prince George's County because some jurisdictions have seen a greater decrease. Some have stayed the same, and we're right in between that. And so I think that there are a lot of things that go into this violent crime, because I have to say it's a violent crime. It's not glamorous. This is not TV. This is a violent crime. So when we have individuals who commit these crimes and we arrest them, then they have to be brought to justice in all avenues of our system. All avenues of our system. That's one. The other side, because I hear these things about what does it take? I think if we had the answers to what would it take to stop a person from being a criminal, then what are those? Because there are many people who say, "Oh, open it up, and we'll have jobs, and or we'll create another environment." And people, if they had something else to do, if we opened up a center for them to hang out or something, that it would change the dynamics. And I think we've done those things. And so I don't know what the real answer would be to stop a person from criminalizing, from doing a violent crime, except what the police do, what we're going to do. And what I tell my guys, we'll stay in our lane. This is our job. Here's our role. You committed carjacking. We're trying to find you, and we're going to arrest you, and we're going to pass that baton to the next avenue in the system. And that passing that baton to the state attorney's office and having some and hoping that a judge would see fit to exact the right amount of justice for that person. That's where we are in policing to drive down these numbers. I'm hoping to see a greater decrease for next year, because when we look at what happened in 2019, before the pandemic, before the official start of the United States pandemic in March of 2020, and we look at what was happening, carjacking wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing in my previous, assignment. It was very low. No one was using this. The pandemic ramped up carjackings, people moving. There was nothing moving during that. No legitimate businesses were not moving for ride shares and things like that. So young people especially started using carjackings as a means to get from one place to another. Then that gravitated into using those cars, or escalated into using those vehicles to commit other robberies, other things, other crimes. The escalation of it has been nothing short of some, entirely phenomenon, not just, in Prince George's County, but in some of our neighboring jurisdictions, up north, up south, out west. The escalation in some Midwest cities are really astronomical. They're sky high. So we're looking at it, Brad. We're trying to figure it out.
And so a subcategory of that, juvenile crime, right? We've talked about that, we've seen the numbers. Juvenile crime seems to be a stubborn statistic. It doesn't seem to be coming down as much as some of these other issues. Why is that? What's wrong? Is it the juvenile laws?
Well, I would have to say part of that is juvenile laws, but that's not the only part of it. That whenever you find something that is failing in a system, then we need to look at what is the part that we play in overall failure. That's just not from police, but that is part of any other agency and what they're doing. And I think that has been brought to light, not just here, but it's been brought to light in some other cities and our state about the process to trying to bring a young person to not commit these type of crimes. And that has been really a tough go for some of the other entities. You're gonna have. There's no such thing as this, and things you have to say. And here they are. You can't let everybody go. You can't let everybody go. Everybody gets dressed up, put on a nice suit, tie, or your fine clothes, and they speak real well, and they tell you what a great person they're gonna be, in the future. And then they're right back out, playing the system. And we have to, as adults, as caretakers, as guardians in this great democracy, we have to be able to see through those things. Now, that's a smaller group of people. We're talking about when we identify the habitual offenders and we look at them from my standpoint, then that is less than 100 of hardcore young people committing crimes in delinquency. Then there's this group of about 500 who have committed one crime or two crimes or small level crimes, as we would say, that the nuisance crimes in your neighborhood, shoplifting, things like that. That's a group. That's a large group. And then there are thousands of young people who are doing the right thing. But we have been focused on this small group of young people who are committing these really hardcore adult type crimes. And we can't play with that. There's no playing with that. I just differentiated in between 100,000 young people in our school systems who are doing right, who are going to school, living life every day, just being young people, not those who are making, careless, stupid mistakes. I think if you're an adult in this room now, which all of us are, that you've done dumb things when you were younger. I'm not talking about that. And I'm talking about saving those kids who have been introduced into a system, and now we using everything for them to make sure that they can get out. And then we had this group here who have no intention, zero, of moving out in circumstances, some beyond their control. And we can't let that escape. There's no escaping that. We will help you. We will offer you every opportunity, every resource that we have at our disposal to get you on the right track. And when you don't, there's a real introduction to a system that you will see. And that we shouldn't apologize for that.
So since this fall, November 1st, there was some law changes, there were also some policy changes with DJS. You're not the court system, you're not DJS, I understand that. But the changes in law allowed holding kids who had committed violations while under supervision. Have any of the changes made by DJS under the law had any impact on crime?
Well, that would be really hard to, digest right here in such a short amount of time. But I would say some things are, when we talk about, policies that they have implemented to help young people, we would have to say that some young people have accepted that help. And then we say other policies like, not being able to talk to a juvenile or a parent giving you consent. Do those hamper us? Yes, they do. Not holding a kid for committing a really violent crime and letting the system take its course where you have time to sit and think about it. I said, releasing you right back out to the same environment that created the problem in the first place. Those things don't work, and they don't work really well. There are things that we can do better in the system. So I would like us to work together and talk about the possible solutions rather than say, hey, look, what you're doing is not working and we offer no solution. We do have a solution as police, and we're going to give it.
Hi. I'd like to ask a couple questions. So you mentioned getting over 1,000 guns off the streets. Where are these? We ask this question all the time. I feel like we don't get the answer. Where are they coming from? Where are these
Well,
guns?
you-
All over the place, there's crimes, and you investigate. Where are they getting the guns?
I don't, I don't want to say they're buying them or they're stealing them, but you want something deeper, right?
Well,
It's
where
here,
are they coming
the proliferation of guns is just not endemic to Prince George's County. It's you have different states who have, different laws, who in the progression of guns, then you can go anywhere and get a gun. You can order gun kits, online. You can go to any one of these states. I'm not going to single out any of these states. We have some of the toughest gun laws north of us, and we still have a gun problem. We have some lax gun laws, south of us, and and some other places, and we have this proliferation of guns. The issue really is, are guns inherently bad? It is, what do you do with people when you catch them, when they have a gun? What kind of justice is put forward when I've mentioned thousands, all these numbers that I gave you, with thousands of guns in the past few years? Then what do we do? What do we do with them? Unless you're going to have comprehensive, gun reform, which we had a little at, a few years ago, but unless you're going to have really comprehensive gun reform, and that comes from the federal level, and those type of things are beyond a lot of state control, and from federal level, Supreme Court, all of these things, they play a role in what type of society are we going to be, because we pay a lot of lip service. There's a lot of lip service to guns. We talk about them, but having a gun is a misdemeanor unless you have one of those things, with unserialized, or you put a switch on it, or you do something, else. It's not federal, it's state, and you cross the boundaries. So that's just our attitude as Americans towards guns. That's a very different argument that we are not going to solve at the city level, the county level, or even the state level. That's another deal.
Just a quick follow-up for Telemundo. They were asking about crime in the Hispanic community. what is that looking like? Also gang crime and whether the Venezuelan gang and their Rockwell has a presence in the county.
Well, this is what I'll say. The largest, population in our county, and Latino, Hispanic, in that division, crime was down 11% in that division, down 11%. Now, with that said, you don't have to be a certain demographic or be, to be in a gang or commit a crime. We have problems with people we have more of an issue with people who say that someone is a gang or they're in a gang, but they just a crew. And that's very different from a gang. These are people who run together. They grew up on the same streets together. No different than the neighborhoods I grew in. I grew up on this side. We were part of this street, and then we were part of this section. And then a few of those people get together and they commit crimes, or they call themselves after the neighborhoods they grew up in. And in strict definitions, those are just crews. They are not gangs. It takes a lot more to be a gang. But we do have some of those gangs from Central America, South America, who in this region across the nation, they're in every single city. Now, to what degree they're committing crimes, that's always debatable. We have a few who we have identified who have committed crimes. Our gang unit, our Bureau of Investigations, our patrol officers, they are focusing on those individuals. Many of them, we know who they are. And when we catch them committing a crime, we put them through the process. Unless we can get them for some organized behavior, organized crime, then we'll do it there. But we don't see a great, unlike some other places, we don't see that to a great extent, but they do exist. They are here.
Chief, give a lot of numbers and stats. How are the public hearing numbers?
Well, that's what I started out with when I talk about numbers and the stats. The stats are this is positive. The stats are positive, but here's where we should differentiate. There are stats, and these are real numbers, and then there is the perception of crime. That's also a reality. The stats are hard numbers. That's a reality, but your perception on where you exist and where you live is a reality. And so, as much stats as I could give you to drill down into your neighborhood, to get to where you are, where do you live, where do your kids go to school, where do you work, where do you shop, how does that look for you? And if it looks good for you in your perception, and your perception meets the stats, then that's a real positive for the police chief and the department. But if the stats say one thing and you don't feel another, that's a problem that we have to work on, not just with stats, but with perception and the reality. We have a different engagement to make. And so I don't ever want to get caught up in all of the numbers. We spit out a lot of numbers. My whole day, everyone behind me, our day is numbers. Our day is execution, it's strategy, it's tactics, it's community engagement, it's prevention, it's reactive, it's proactive, it's investigations. All of these things take place in our day, but the person at the center of this is where you live, where you work, where you entertain, where our children go to school and play. They have to feel that these numbers make them feel safer. And so when you talk to some of our community people, which I know you will, and they say, you know what, I think the police department is doing a great job. I think they could do this better. I think my neighborhood is safe. I think it's getting better. That would have a greater importance to me than reading these numbers on how our community stakeholders feel. That means a lot to me.
Chief, I have a question regarding, can you talk a little bit about, how much this crime is spillover from DC, Northern Virginia, how much that spillover accounts to the statistics and what's being done to address that type of crime?
Yeah.
DC police, Northern Virginia law enforcement.
Yeah, we have a great relationship with what we call in this DMV. We have a great relationship. We talk frequently. I'm talking to Chief Smith in DC, or Yamada, and before him Jones in Montgomery County. I'm talking over with Chief Davis in Fairfax. We're talking over with new Chief McGuire in Alexandria, who came over here to the crime, sent his people over here to the crime meetings. We have a really robust, vibrant network, but the people behind me in their bureaus, especially patrol and investigations, We had a meeting of all those here up in this building a month or so ago, talking about those issues that are pertinent to all of us. As far as crime is concerned, our great influx of crime. I would, we going back and forth with our chiefs, we're always talking about somebody from DC came over to Prince George's County, and then DC is saying somebody from Prince George's County came over to DC and did it. And each one of us would say, you're giving us more than our fair share of crime. That's what we're thinking. And then we don't get much spillover from Virginia to Prince George's County. It's just not a lot of spill, but we still have a relationship with him because we know each other before crimes happen, so we can talk to each other. But our relationship with carjackings, with robberies, we're talking. We're on networks together, information networks, intelligence networks. We're sharing information, real-time crime centers. All of those things are day-to-day engagement. It's normal for us to have a communication to drive down those crimes. So our relationship it's getting better. To me, it is where it needs to be, and it's getting better. And so it's not that we don't have any communication with each other. We do. But let me get this follow up, and then I'll come to you.
So do those stats you're talking about, do they, track or monitor, crimes might originate in another area and then vice versa?
Well, I mean, our intelligence, we have that in our files and our investigations. Well, if a person gives us the right address, if they say that they live in DC, if they've committed a crime in Prince George's County, or if they say they're in Prince George's County and or they're in vice versa, they're in DC, whichever way it goes, those are very loose stats. What our concentration has been on is, okay, a person commits a crime, here, and he's held accountable. How do we hold him accountable when he stays in another state or another jurisdiction? Those have been the talks that have posed us the most challenges about how do we actually do that with monitoring, from electronic monitoring or GPS, or putting a person through a system, or seeing a judge, or holding a person. We're doing those things right now. Of course, those relationships can be better, and they can be greater, but we are talking. I think that was the question that you asked. We are communicating and we are talking. If the problem would be if we were not communicating and we were not talking to each other, that would be a problem. But we do talk to each other and we do work together.
You did mention how the carjacking started rising when the pandemic started. This decrease that you saw last year in carjackings, is that the first decrease you've seen since the numbers started rising? Or was it the most significant decrease you've seen since the numbers started rising? Can you just give us an idea of the progression? This went down. It finally, we finally turned the corner to have carjackings, go down. And you heard some of those small numbers that were mentioned. And I think, my memory served me correct. We were at one time at 19 carjackings at one time, and that were listed as a carjacking. And then we had to create the unit, the carjacking interdiction unit, in 2021, not just the task force, because we saw that this was just not some type of, one-off. It was a fad. It was going to go away really quickly. It escalated in 21 and 22, and we saw it go up. And then we turn a corner to drive those carjackings down now. And that took a lot of work to get there. But I think the carjacking interdiction unit, the WAVE unit, Washington Area Vehicle Enforcement Unit, dealing with auto thefts, I think they played a really great role. But and the patrol officers who have been made aware, who are out in some cases in different divisions that we have, they paid a close attention to it, to what's going on with carjackings. And I think all of that has something to play with it. Of course, successful prosecution, giving meaningful, justice to some of those individuals. All those have played a part in us driving down carjacking. So this was the first annual decrease?
Yeah, the first one that I have seen since I've been here.
Some other jurisdictions have had success in drug units, real-time crime center, things like that.
No, I'm waiting on you to finish your question. I hear some people back here smiling too. I can hear them smiling.
Your thoughts?
On
Any plans for that?
what's the question on it?
Any plans for that?
To utilize drones?
Yes, or real-time crime, any
Well, we have a real-time crime center. And, we will stand it up formally. I'm anticipating shortly, we'll stand that up, and I'm sure our media relations will let you guys know when that will be. We are exchanging with DC, with their real-time crime center, also with personnel, to make sure that we are talking when it comes to that. Those are the things in modern police departments that in some cases that have existed since 911, since 9/11 happened. Real-time crime centers were brought on board 1, 2, 3 years after that, and some departments experienced great results. Prince George's County, even in this region, for whatever reasons, we were behind. So now you see the standing up of real-time crime centers, and we are working, and we're going to make those things a reality under Deputy Chief Gomez Shop, who's behind me. We're going to make those things a reality. Drones is a little bit more difficult because we are in the restriction zone, and that restriction zone, we have to get waivers. There's a lot of details that have to be ironed out with the FAA and our deal. So when someone using a drone program in some other city or outside the restricted area, they can do things that we can't do because there are strict rules with a drone. And we are unlike some of the people who are buying drones and violate. You just heard just yesterday a plane had to land because someone was flying a drone, and I think in Los Angeles where the fires were, and a plane had to be grounded because of that. These are things that the police won't do. We are not interested. The police, we are not the lawbreakers. We are working with the FAA to make sure that we have a vibrant program. I believe it's going to happen in some capacity, that we're going to be able to use them in low-level places. We're not doing some things that we would like to do, but we're going to implement that. We believe they're coming forward in the future here to do those things, but we are not like some of the other jurisdictions. We are in the hardcore flight restriction zone. Andrews Air Force Base, where our presidents that we are so happily engaged with to lead the escorts in and out of Prince George's County to the base, and also DCA is really close to us, and that forms a circle in a flight restriction zone, almost like no other jurisdiction here. So
Just to clarify, so there are plans for some kind of program?
we are,
Have a
yes.
timeline?
We have been looking at it. I don't want to really put a timeline on it because it could get stopped at any part, but we do have some in the future. I'm gonna make sure you're the first to know when we come out with it, that these drones, because I want you reporting on it, that Prince George's County, we have a drone program, but we're working on it. Let me just take this time, because drones is really aviation. We have one of the, not one of them, we have the best aviation unit. And our aviation guardian is top notch. They do so many things. Even in the past couple of days, they've been flying. It wasn't talking about crime. They weren't looking at crime. They were assessing the area for what has happened with this snowstorm. The value of our aviation unit is, crime prevention, crime enforcement, and they are just. Hey, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I'm good with it.
Chief, couple quick ones. So, talking to your colleagues, and maybe even you, beginning of the pandemic, you're like, masks are going to lead to issues. Saying no face, no case. What role do you think that widespread use of masks has played in the uptick in crime and maybe some downturn?
Yeah,
It's silly, but I think it's a real thing.
you talking about from the pandemic for masks and all those
People wearing
things?
masks. Some surgical masks, all over the place.
Yeah, let me just say this from a police perspective. It's only been 35 years since I've been in this policing profession. What I've seen is people commit crimes with a mask and without a mask. Okay, if you think you can get away with it, you'll do it. That's why you commit it. Desperation, arrogance, all those other things. Yes, we have to say that yes, it has lended, a hand to having a mask on and committing a crime. But I don't know if that has been, before that we had people committing crimes with masks. And we've had people since the pandemic has been over, we've had people committing crimes with masks. So, yeah.
The homicide statistics. If you factor in the municipalities, are the homicides down as well?
Homicides are still down in the county, even when we factor in municipalities. And if we looked at that for total crime or being down, homicide, even with us combined, would still be down a -5%. Would still be down a -5%. Even when we factor in those we investigate with our other municipalities and those we don't, you add those into Prince George's County. I don't report on their stats, but just the percentage, we would still be down a -5% in totality. And that's a plus for our county, because while I look at what's under my jurisdiction, then the CAO and the county executive, county council, they look at things across the county and how crime looks across the county. My part of that is down. Us combined with our partners in the municipalities is down also. Okay, we good. Thank you, guys.
Can you just clarify that all these numbers, that they don't include the municipalities?
No, just under our jurisdiction. I don't report. Yeah, I don't report on their numbers, the MOUs. Okay. Assistant Chief Hale will be here to answer that question.
That's also down too. Press conference over.
The Cowboys' winning record is down. Is that a positive or a negative? I don't know.
Very quickly, I just want to mention, thank you. But I do want to mention that most of you, I see at every incident we have in the county, good or bad. I see you all come up, we shake hands, we talk, and I just want to acknowledge the passing of Derek Ward, who was a member of our communications family. We love Derek. Derek always came up to me in every wherever we were, good or bad. He'd shake my hand and he'd say, good to see you, Brian. Can you tell me anything off the record? And I'd always say, you've been hanging out with Brad Bell too much. No, I have nothing to tell you off the record. But we miss Derek, and I just want to acknowledge that all of you here, we consider family. We see you all the time, good or bad. We see you, and we really appreciate you. That's number one. Number two, very quickly, and I don't mean to be self-indulgent, but I wanted to take a minute and thank the first responders, the fire and police in LA, for everything they're doing around the clock. My oldest son, lives in Pacific Palisades, and he's sent me lots of video, and it is an absolute nightmare what they're going through. All their friends have lost their homes, burned to the ground, and they won't let them up yet to check and see if their house is there. But what they do tell me is the kindness and the hard work of the fire and police department in LA. So I wanted to take a moment and just say thank you to the first responders from the Prince George's County Police Department. Thank you.